Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. Our guest this morning is Marina Theron-Monnery and Raimi. Good morning to you also, and good morning, Marina. We're glad you're here.
Hello. Thank you
And
for
I'm going to
having
read.
me.
Oh, you're very welcome. We're excited to. You and um, your co-host of your podcast, who has also been a guest on our podcast, have been so gracious to have both of us as on your podcast too. So that's exciting. Exciting that on the web we can get to know each other, though we live far apart. Yeah, very great. And I'm going to read your biography here to introduce you to the audience. Marina Theron-Monnery is a dream builder, coach, a rapid transformational therapy practitioner, and hypnotherapist. She guides her clients to overcome the pains of childhood trauma, abuse, poverty, weight issues, cancer, and many more so they can create their amazing new realities. Her professional abilities are enhanced by her personal experience with many forms of the same pain, abuse, and disease, and being able to overcome them herself. Marina is deeply spiritual and sees her intuition as her biggest asset in her work and her life. She is co host of the podcast Hopenning that strives to inspire hope in people. And her business name is MTM Therapy, and she gives her website link below. And on the website, you could sign up for, if you'd like, a free consultation call and a free gratitude journal. And she can also be found on her Facebook link, which I have placed below. And also her podcast link is down below if you'd like to check that out. And so thank you again, Marina, for being with us. And
Thank
um,
you.
could you please tell us your story, like how you came to do the work you do, how you overcame some of the personal traumas and things that you had mentioned experiencing?
It's quite a journey, Carla. I grew up in South Africa and in the absolute heat of apartheid, and I can have an entire podcast just on that topic as well. I grew up in an Afrikaans-speaking family in a very conservative province, um, and very traditional family, Dutch Reformed Church, and but things were not as they seemed, and there was a lot of turmoil in the household. There was a lot of uh, narcissism, and from a very young age, I became the person who would call out when I see things. For example, you go to church, you hear about how you should live, how you should act, but then when we go home, it's nothing like that. So I started to call out, and that meant that I became the scapegoat in a narcissistic situation. And that plagued me for many, many years. And there was this narrative in my family that started to form that I was a troublemaker. I was, they, I was, according to some of them, I looked like my obese grandmother. So in that sense, I started to form an idea about who I was, and I didn't feel really good about myself. I thought there's something wrong with me. I thought that, I can never be skinny in my life. I thought so many negative things about myself. I thought I wasn't lovable. I was not likable. My family didn't like me. How can anybody else like me? And it became an absolute need for me to find love, to find people to love me. And I think that is the one thing that got me more in trouble in my life than anything else, seeking for love outside of myself. And I went into a marriage. It was horrible. It was, bless my ex-husband, because I have two beautiful sons from him, and today we really get along. But while we were married, it was very, very, very difficult. So after 10 years of marriage, we immigrated to Canada. 8 years into the marriage, 2 years later, I left. I just couldn't do it anymore. So my career at that point, I was a professional opera singer. So um, in South Africa, I had a full-time job with benefits. You would get up in the morning, start to sing, you would go to bed at night, stop singing. So that was my job. It's a very European model. Now in Canada, you have to freelance. And I'm a single mom with two very young children, and this was 2003. And that meant I had no other career. I had no other resume. So I had to start from scratch. I went into a tremendous poverty, sometimes fed my kids from the food bank. But I worked really hard. And my motto in life became work and win, which was my high school motto. And I worked really hard. So every job I had, I would just work myself up. But relationships was still a big issue for me. Not getting along with my traditional family, having very sporadic issues, and always, whenever I get involved in anything, there was the narrative that I'm the troublemaker. What did Marina do this time? And I believed it, and I felt horrible about myself. So 2010 comes, and I am in yet again another relationship. I had one boyfriend that passed away, and after that, that was 2007. After that, I was desperate to find somebody to love me. So I started online dating, and I can write a comedy show about that experience alone. But the last one was a guy who physically assaulted me. He really hurt me, and that was the end of it. I realized that night the police had to remove him from my house, and I realized that night, in retrospect, that the biggest line he crossed was not hurting me; it was doing it in front of my children. And there was something clicked for me. Why did I love my children so much that I put up that boundary? If you do anything to me in front of them, it's over. But if you do anything to me, was not on the table. And I realized that night that I don't love myself. I've learned that you should love your neighbor as yourself, but I've never learned how to love myself, and that changed my life. I went on a quest how to love myself. I decided I'm not dating. I'm just isolating myself. I'm learning to find out who is Marina outside of the narrative of my family. What makes me special? What makes me good? I am good. Find the goodness within myself and identify myself as me, not as the story that my family used to tell about me. And the long story short, 2 years later, during that time, I met my now husband. And 2 years later, we were together. We became friends first because I was so hardcore. No, I'm not dating. And it was one of the best things that could happen because we became best of friends. We've been together 12 years now, and it's wonderful. And I was diagnosed with cancer after that. Cancer was a huge wake up call for me because even though I started to learn how to love myself, I wanted to fix my family. And it just was that wake up call it's not my responsibility. My cancer diagnosis was in 2017. And in 2018, life leveled up again. And that's when I realized that in all of this, my calling in life is to help. It's not just to live the journey for me. Every lesson that I've learned is something that somebody else can benefit from. So that's why I am doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So you
I
learned
think it's
NLP? Sorry, Carla.
Well,
No.
rapid transformational therapy includes NLP, so that's a big part of it. A lot of my again, leveling up, healing came through really feeling called. I in 2018 I did the Dreambuilder course, started to work on that. During COVID, though, I used to do a lot of public speaking and get clients like that, but suddenly that came to a screeching halt. And I became bored. And every time I said, okay, universe, what now? What's next? Marissa Peer would show up for me and rapid transformational therapy. So I tested it and I said, okay, I have a certain criteria that it has to meet. Then I know it's right. And it was 100% spot on. The moment I started to do the course, it was like my whole soul cried out in joy. And I felt that I'm home. And so part of rapid transformational therapy is NLP. And I got a lot of healing through that.
Good. Good.
Well, that's what I was reading, that the RTT, or the Rapid Transformational Therapy, I was reading my notes here, combines aspects from hypnosis, cognitive behavioral therapy, psychology, healing, and NLP.
Right.
That's really interesting. I had been in the online audience of a Mind Valley interview that Marissa
Right.
Peers did, and she did a short sample of her work, for the audience. And I
Right.
had recorded it on my computer and then listened to it 2 or 3 times just to experience it more and see the effects of it, and found it
Right.
really powerful, really interesting.
It is.
But
It
I
is.
was
Yeah.
interested that it combined all those aspects of different things.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Very
It's
cool.
really such a wonderful tool, and it's a foundation of what I do today, even though I still do some coaching. It depends on the issue that clients come to me with. I recently worked with an athlete that was in the Olympic Games. I worked with her for a year and a half before the games, and then I also work still very closely with a cancer patient who was not supposed to be alive by now, and she still is. So it's just using all the tools to keep on giving her hope.
I do too. I work with a cancer patient, and
It's so gratifying.
it is. And then she feels really good, and then she does too much, and then we have to kind of start over again. And I love seeing the progress. I do concern myself when she falls back, and then I think, oh my God, how could. So I'm always creating another way to reach her, because she never ever loved herself, which is common.
Yeah, that's a big thing. To me, Rainy, it's I can, because I'm so sensitive to energies, and when we meet, we don't live in the same city, so we meet over Zoom. When we meet, so initially it was once a week. And during that week, when we leave the meeting, we could raise that energy to the point where she's in such a good place. And then a week later, when she comes to me, her energy is so low that I, at some point, invited her to meet with me every day, so that time lapse between the high energy and the next, and the lapse is not that big. And yeah, we've seen a lot of things happening for her, but it's that constant uh, renewal of hope. Constant, why am I here? What do I have to look forward to? Why did I wake up this morning? What is my why? And then just falling in love with this day. This is the day that I know I have. Let's fall in love with today, and then raise that vibration, so that, yeah, it's wonderful to see
That's
that.
a good idea. I thought of that, but
Right.
I was
And
thinking,
that
10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything. Yeah.
You
Okay.
make a recording. So part of rapid transformational therapy and NLP is you make them a meditation. And in that is everything. I go so deep with my clients that what do they want? What is the life they want for themselves? So in that recording, I put that. I'm quite visual. I create these things because I think so much in our lives, like in my own story, I was so influenced what other people thought of me, that I had to detach from that. I had to create a separation. And a lot of the exercises that I did for myself, and still to a point do today, of creating a visualization of separation between me and other people's issue. They are always going to have their issues, but I don't have to be involved in it. So if I can create that separation in my mind, in my emotions, and get excited about what I have that is detached from them, it's a win-win.
Yes.
Well, I think it helps to remember in doing so, in doing that detachment, or separating your mind from being part of the trauma they're working through, also is to realize that, just like for ourselves, where the traumas, it's the difficulties, it's the the things that we've had to overcome in our lives that make us who we are and make us strong, and in overcoming, give us the purpose that fuels our passion in helping others. And so they're on their journey of finding out what fuels their passion. And
Right.
it's
Yeah.
a life that from the oneness before we come here that we agree to in some respect in agreeing to certain mindset or certain patterns that we're going to live with or learn from in this life and struggle with and overcome. And so it's their journey, just like we had our journey or have our journey, right? Continuing journey. And that helps me to separate or to just
Sure.
to not, I don't know if separate's a good word, but just to hold my own space and allow them to hold theirs.
Well, you were saying something now, Carla, that it's very dear to my heart, and that's remembering. I sometimes would describe what I do for clients is remembering who they really are. Because if you can remember on a soul level where you come from and who you came into this life as, because we all came on a clean slate. We all came forgetting who we really are. And then new experiences, new traumas, new other people's nonsense starts to build who we think we are. And then, like peeling the onion layer by layer, we peel away who we are not to find out who we really are and remembering who we were on that soul level.
Yeah. That's it. That is it.
Yeah.
We're all wounded. We
Um,
all came
I'm
here
going to
to
take
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to just insert right here because I felt led to pull an oracle card this morning that would apply
Awesome.
to you, Marina, and to all of us listening. And I was using, because it's Friend a Tree Week that I do, I was using my tree oracle cards, and the card that jumped to me was the ginkgo. And I was just going to read a tiny bit here because it was amazing how much it applied when I read it. The ginkgo is the living embodiment of our origins, our source of life. It shows us the way to the core of our being. If we are true to ourselves in the way we live and behave, we act as nature intended, with authenticity and inner confidence, with strength and integrity. Then nothing is beyond our reach. But first, we have to know where we come from, or else we cannot know where we are going. And it's in accepting those origins and overcoming them
Right.
that's the
Right.
victory, right? That's the life.
Yeah.
And
That's
there's a little poem. From the seed comes the tree. From the tree comes the seed, the source of life, immortal to the core. Discover the home of your being, send down roots, center yourself, and connect with who you really are.
I love it. That's spot
Yeah,
on.
I thought
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
applied so much. Yeah, applied so
Yeah.
much to our conversation. Do you still use your opera singing or singing in general in some of your work in helping clients?
I think when you are gifted a talent, an artistic talent, whether it is painting, creating anything, singing in my case, making music, it is your soul language. And there were periods in my life I gave it up when I became divorced, and it it was just a difficult thing with two young children, freelancing, and I needed money. It was freelancing was so the threat of that to me was that it's not a steady income. I needed steady income. So I gave that up, but after a while, I started to feel like there's something missing from my soul, and so I started to sing again in 2007, and from there things changed. I don't do opera anymore actively in opera company. However, in 2016 I started to sing with a jazz a big band, and I still do that. But also in 2010 I started to sing with an a cappella group that does Christmas caroling, and that's all opera people. So I'm a natural soprano, but at that point they were short alto, so I started to sing alto, and I still do that today. And in 2018, a friend of mine and I took over the company that used to do that, and so we own the company now, and we employ about 20 people every year to sing with us. So it's starting now. Even before I met with you guys this morning, I have inquiries about Christmas caroling. So we perform from mid-November until Christmas every year, and it's very busy. We are all over our city, and so I'm quite involved in that. But sometimes I would just but this morning before I met with you guys, I was drying my hair. I would just break out in song because it's just something that's in my soul, and I still practice. I think it's something you have to do, especially right now, getting my voice ready for singing. Sometimes I have to fill in a soprano now. So I it would be interesting if to see if at some point, if I understand what you're asking, if I could combine what singing with my work in therapy. There have been times where I felt a certain song in my intuition would be of meaning to a client in a certain situation, and then I would just start to sing it.
Right. I use voice in my work some, not greatly, not certainly opera, just chanting or toning or singing too, whatever comes to mind. Often it's what I would call an ancient language, or more related to perhaps Native American
Yeah.
singing or something, chanting more. But yeah, I was just curious because sound therapy in itself is powerful, and then if you combined it with something else that was very powerful, kind of like Marissa Peers did in combining parts of all these
Right.
helpful tools that are very good within themselves, right, into something that was different but very, very effective also.
Yeah, music is energy,
Yeah.
and you know that
How
intimately,
do you? What
Carla.
I was curious about was with the art. Yeah,
Sorry, I missed
yeah,
that.
it is. The what I was wondering with the there must be a lag time
Mm-hmm.
in our um, communication there. So what I was wondering with the RTT, I found it very curious, I guess, in how it works. In that short exercise that Marissa Peers had done in the Mind Valley class I was listening to, she was like count 1 2 3 or snap her fingers, and automatically you were supposed to be deep in something that was a place where you were stuck in childhood, or
Mhm.
the memory, the trauma thing, and then it was immediately on to 1 2 3, a second one, and then on 2 3, a third one. So you would have, like, what do you call it, sound bites of your old story to
Yeah.
help you understand it. Did I say that? Or maybe you could explain the RTT
So RTT has
process
five specific
better.
components to it. The first one is the induction, so it's a relaxation. And you and I talked a little bit off camera about Dr. Joe Dispenza, and with him, he takes a very long induction where Marissa Peer believes that it doesn't need to be that long. Over the years that I've done this, a lot of things have changed for me, understanding of how I still study a lot. I read a lot. I read a lot about how other people do it. I've done more courses in hypnotherapy. So it's just reading your client very well and see how deep they are relaxed. And there are certain tests that you can do. I had one lady last week that was so deep that she started to cry in the session, and she had a runny nose and runny eyes, and she said to me, "I need your help." I said, "What is it?" She said, "I cannot lift up my eyes to wipe my nose, my arms to wipe my nose." So um, it's just, the suggestibility of relaxation was so deep, and that I told her, no, no, go ahead, wipe your nose. And the moment I said that, she could do it. So the mind is a wonderful thing, and only 5% of our minds are conscious. So in rapid transformational therapy, we have this saying, understanding gives us power. And what you refer to when she said, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3 and snap your fingers, when we work in a group setting, it's always different than working one-on-one. And a lot of us, if I tell you right now, let's talk about money. Money can be such a big issue for people. Think quickly. What is the first message in childhood that you receive about money that was negative? And I say 1, 2, 3, think about it. Chances are there will be something that comes up in your mind, and you will think, oh, my mom did this, or my dad said that, or um, maybe our family will always have to work very hard. Money never comes easy to us. It's just that little memory. And that's just think of it. It's in our minds. Now, if you go really deep into hypnosis, a technique that I love to use is pretend that you are watching a home movie. And so your eyes would be closed. And then I say, okay, we're going to rewind this movie. It's today. Our subconscious minds are always on more than our conscious minds. And if you are relaxed enough, and I tell you, okay, say for example, we talk about money, that's a good example. We want to find out why you believe making money is a struggle, or it's not available to you, or you're not good enough for it, whatever your situation is. And we now say, okay, let's rewind this. Maybe we're starting today, and your subconscious mind knows exactly where things went wrong in your mind. Because remember, our thoughts drives our emotions. And the moment we have an emotion attached to a thought, our minds become active, and our mind's only job is to make our thoughts real. And if you then have a negative story to anything, your mind and the thought, those looping thoughts saying, well, but you know, you're not good enough. You know, making money is always going to be a struggle. You know that you come from poverty. It's just not available to you. You know, you were born on the wrong side of the tracks. Things like that. That's things I've heard from clients. So how do you change that? It's like a computer program. If a computer programmer program a software and they make one mistake somewhere in the background, that will be a faulty program, faulty software. So that's how our minds work. So there's a faulty software somewhere. So let's go and find it. Let's retrace our steps. Let's ask our subconscious mind, take me to the exact point in time where I developed or my client developed a negative belief about money. And now we're going to rewind this movie. And then I would say, when I count you down, your mind is going to stop on a scene. So I love to visualize. So rewinding a movie and then say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pause. And then I say, whenever you pause a movie, it's on a scene, and this movie is your life. So you are in it. So now we always go to the emotion. You see yourself, okay, I'm 5 years old, I'm with my dad, and I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling sad because. So I keep on asking them to repeat after me. You're feeling sad because money is difficult to make. It's hard to make money. Okay, it's hard to make money because my dad said so. And immediately know, okay, that is where your wiring, where that computer program went wrong. And then, okay, we normally go to 3 different scenes. And then my job is to delete that scene. Let's rewrite it. Let's, whether it's forgiveness or expressing yourself or whatever may apply, it's so individualized. So, and that's where I love my intuition, because I can normally read and understand what it is that they need. So whatever they need to heal in that moment, speaking with dad and say, okay, dad, that's your story. That's, I'm giving it back to you. I'm creating my own now. And my story is, money is easy to make. Money flows to me. I'm a money magnet. It's easy. I have more money than I need. And then you change that story, and that's where the NLP comes in. So at the end of the session, you put that all in the recording. Sometimes because I get so visual, I would refer to all those old beliefs and thoughts as an old radio station that always plays in your head. Now let's imagine that you take a sledgehammer to that radio, smash it, and now we create you a new one. And it has all these amazing words just for you. in a nutshell.
Yeah, very nice. I like that. I was thinking also of how when you were telling your story of not so much growing up, but I found similarities of as you were an adult and feeling that in getting married you would find that love that you need, and that was me too. It was like I knew my parents loved me, but it was like I felt they had to, right? They're parents. That's what parents do. But I found out much later it was like no, parents don't do that. Don't all do that, right? And but that's what I had thought, and so I had thought, well, it would be in uh, getting married. That would be that way. I would have someone that would love me just for me, and of course he didn't, and neither did the second one. And until I could love me right more,
Exactly.
that I could find the person that would love me just for me. Yeah. But I also think it was key. I had done the same like you did. You had said, that you stopped dating so you could find out who you were, and that's what I had done. I guess I wasn't into healing me enough to think of that automatically, but we had, because we had a child, we had to go to a divorce therapy class, one or two of those, which was a good idea. And it had given a statistic like on an average it takes 2 years for someone to heal from the trauma of going through a divorce. And so I thought that was my second marriage. We were getting divorced, and it was like, oh, and my second child. And it was like, okay, well, I need to change my life. I need to not continue this pattern. And so I went 2 years without dating. And then the first guy I dated was really screwed up. And I was so down on myself. How can I go 2 years and do a lot of inner work? But it was, or like at that time, I thought it was a lot of inner work, which I found out now, of course, no, it wasn't near enough. And so, but so the first person I picked was screwed up. And I told that to a friend, and she said, it's not you. I said, my man picker is broken. And she said, no, it's not you. It's just there's so many people with problems in the world. And but so I went another 2 years without dating because I thought, well, I just can't have it. And then finally something stuck, and life got better for several years, and then I took my another jump forward in life. But it's
It's
interesting
quite
that
interesting,
time is really
Carla,
important.
because I do get a lot of clients who come to me who say, well, I'm very bad at picking men. I'm really bad at relationships. So when they come to me, my first point of business to them is, can you love yourself enough that you never in your life, if you never get another relationship in your life and you live to be 90 years old, can you be so in love with life, with your life, that that would be okay? And most of them say no. And then I said, that's where we need to get. You need to fall in love with you. You need to fall in love with your life. And once that is in place, then you will attract the right man, because like attracts like. And it's not, to me, it's the lessons in life that attracts the lessons in life you need. So if you go into a relationship because you think that's another person's job to make you feel loved, it's going to be the same lesson over and over again. So when you can get to that point where you just love your life and it's okay to be alone, you love your life so much. And that's exactly what I did. And then you are honest with yourself and say, okay, I would be really okay with my life if I never have a relationship again. And I was in my late 40s then. So now I was okay. I knew that I'll be okay. But I thought, it would be really nice to have a companion though. And then I said, okay, but who do I want? Now that I know who I am, now that I really know, not who my family thinks I am, but who I am, who is it that I want? Who will match me? And I made a list because now I knew. And that's when came out of nowhere into my life, and he matched it, and it's been wonderful.
I did the exact same thing. It was exactly becoming okay with who I was and liking my life. I mean, there's a lot of advantages of being a single mom or a single parent. I mean, I'll just say that if you have a good relationship, a good partner relationship, then I think that far outweighs being single if you have that. But if you don't have the good one, being by yourself with children is much easier and nicer than fighting with someone about it, because you can make your own choices and do what you want to do and guide your children in the way you want to raise them. And there's benefits. So I looked at the empowerment in that, and then came to a point where, okay, yes, a relationship would be nice. So I made a list, and I got the person that matched the list physically. I made sure they matched the list, and yeah, it's been wonderful. Yeah.
If you go and buy a car, you decide before you go test drive the car, what kind of model am I looking up? What size of the engine? How, in my case, living in Canada, how safe on the snow it should be. So kind of more or less, you have a list of the cars. What is your price range? But when we get to relationships, we normally don't have boundaries, and when we are only going because we have certain emotional feelings or physical feelings in a relationship, that's normally not a good gauge for what you want long term. So when you start to really give yourself time, and to me, time was very important. Time to step away from my old patterns for new patterns.
Rami, did you go through something like that ever in
Oh,
your
yeah.
life?
Well, fortunately, the man I married the first time is the one. But I didn't love myself, and I thought he didn't love me. So I left. And then I began this journey with this other man that was, it was the opposite of Jeff. He was very attentive and verbal. He would, you parted your hair different today. You're wearing a new shirt. Now, Jeff doesn't do any of that. Anyway, but after all of those years with this wrong person, for many reasons, he was an alcoholic, and so was I. I joined him, and it was just miserable, and the kids were miserable. But finally, when I got sober and started my spiritual path, I realized that I always did love Jeff. I always will love Jeff, and he was always hanging around anyway. So we just remarried 5 years ago, and it's where I should be, where I want to be. It's not that I have to be here, because we lived alone for so long, 30 years. So we're learning, and it's I was telling I meditate with my oldest daughter in her group every morning. And today I was telling her, no one's home now. It's just the two of us. And we had to work on my car. Oh my God. He gets so flustered. I just was telling her the characteristics, because he gets anxious and it's not going his way. But anyway, I realized that that's where the kids picked up his behavior, because he's mad. I don't know why he's mad, but all I could be was calm. And that really helped. So I noticed that yesterday, because I usually don't help him with his with his car parts, because I used to. And I remember I would cry when we first were married, back 50 years ago. So yeah, that was pretty interesting yesterday. So yes, I had to work through my own journey, that I am love. He does love me. Oh boy, someone loves me, because I didn't think anyone would. And yeah, you just tell that story until you wake up and you realize you are love. You always have been. You're part of the universe. How could you not be? And then, you wake up and you just realize, wow, what was I thinking? Because it's all wrong. It's not, it's lies we tell each other. And it's no one's fault, but we're waking up, and that's the beautiful part. We really are. And I try to share that with everyone. And of course, some people are like, yeah, right. But, settle in, go to your heart more often than you do your head, and it works out. Start loving yourself, forgive yourself, and then it goes from there. So, yeah, I think we all have our experiences to grow and heal. So,
That's for sure. Remy, I love what you say. And to me, that is such a journey for all of us. And I don't think it's a journey that ever ends. It's never a destination.
right.
It's always a journey. And I mean, in relationships, we all go through that. And my husband would point out to me, sometimes I still would get drawn into the drama of my family in South Africa, even though I'm physically so far separated from them. The energetic drama sometimes follows me. And whenever I get involved in that, I become quite defensive. And that's my old pattern. That's my old story. Because before I changed and understood who I am, that's all I did. But today I have that responsibility towards myself that I meditate. Like you said, you meditate with your daughter. Carla and I talked before the time about one of my heroes is Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I'm so grateful that I discovered him because through that, I've learned what is my day going to look like? What is today going to be like? I love having my journal close by always and write down, okay, who am I going to be today? Who is my future self? Live as it, walk as it. So I just love having that ongoing journey. And even when people around me have their own battles, can I still be solid in who I am and how I respond? And it's a journey. I'm not perfect at it, but I'm always working.
Yeah, but I think what we find is, I think the key to all of this is awareness. And
Mhm.
once you become aware that you're going down the old rabbit hole again and again and again, you don't swim in it anymore. You're aware. And once you realize that that's the old program,
Yeah.
and just keep reiterating the new program. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
But
some great examples of that from my life is depression. So as a young person, I started to struggle with depression, hopelessness, and being trapped in situation in South Africa. And then it came back again after my divorce and feeling really like I was in the deep end and all I could do was to swim. And sometimes I got really tired, but I won that battle. And then cancer. Um, and I call it 2017 was my year of Netflix because I had a business then and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get myself out of bed. My husband would leave for work in the morning and I would be, okay, what am I going to watch on Netflix today? And it came at a point where I became so depressed that there was one morning, and that was a year after my diagnosis, after my mastectomy, that he was just leaving for work, and I turned the TV on, and I thought, okay, what can I watch on Netflix today? And it hit me like I cannot. I'm not living, I'm floating, and that's depression for me. And so this year, and then that completely changed my life. I found out what is my purpose? Why am I here? So in May this year, I was in an accident on an e-bike and I smashed my elbow and I had to have surgery. And again, I'm in recovery. So I also, you can probably see lightly, it's not very clear anymore. And thanks to makeup, I have a scar on my face because I hit my head very hard. I had a concussion. I still have memory loss. So there was recovery period. And then again, I found myself in front of the TV having wondering what I'm going to watch today. And there came a point, and it didn't take me long
mhm.
it was not a year again, it was a couple of weeks when I said one morning, this is it. And I got myself a coherence healing through Dr. Joe Dispenza's group. And in that, you have to say, what is your intention? And I had an intention that in a certain amount of time, I want to have a fully functioning arm. Now you can see how I'm using it. So and I got there 3 months before schedule. I'm playing golf, I'm working out in the gym, and I just decided I'm not sitting in front of the TV anymore. I'm going to live. I'm going to live. I'm going to live full out, whether I have a broken elbow or not. I'm just going to live. So I'm ahead of the game. And that is my quest in life. I'm not going to fall down that pit again. It's not going to happen.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, and that's
Well,
incredible. Sorry. It's just we get on the same
no, go
topic.
ahead. Go ahead.
So excited.
Love it.
That's our mission in life. That's all three of us. We are here to share our story and to let you know that you can change it. You really, really can. You really, really can. And I hope you want to.
Exactly.
I took a step toward that, being stuck in front of the TV. In fact, my current husband and I did it together. We've been married 15 years, so it was probably 15 years ago. I think it was right when we moved, when we got married and moved in together, that we said, no TV. And so we haven't watched TV since then, except like if we're staying, visiting someone and they have their TV on, then of course it's in the room playing. So you listen to it and stuff, but but that was a big step in itself, separating. No, I'm not going to do that, because television, right? It's meant to mesmerize a person and pull you into that non-thinking mode, not using your mind mode. And so we get information from the internet. I don't think it works in quite the same way, although you could say that they use other things like the cell phones or Facebook, social media, not just Facebook in specific, but other tactics to pull you back into that constant reinforcing the involvement with it, like the mesmerizing of the TV. So it's just a different tactic. So there's,
well, I think one of the biggest battles of our society today is going unconscious. And I work a lot with people with emotional eating issues. And one of the biggest issues is eating with a device. Because if you're not eating with a device, whether it's your cell phone or in front of the TV, when you are not sitting and eating consciously, you don't pay attention to when you are full.
Right.
And what you eat and how much you eat and how fast you eat. If you are mesmerized, which is another word for hypnotism, if you are mesmerized by what you are watching on a screen, it can be a game, it can be a text message, it can be a TV show, whatever it is, you're not present. You're in a hypnotic state. And think of advertisements on TV. So I still watch TV, but I don't watch live TV, and I don't watch TV during the day. And but limited in the evenings. I don't watch news at all. And I deliberately don't watch live TV because every single time an advertisement comes on, did you know that advertisement companies employ hypnotists, psychologists, to maybe not all of them, I shouldn't generalize, but it's been a trend in earlier years to find out how can we hook people. Think of a few years ago at the Super Bowl, they had a Snickers commercial with Betty White. And it was, somebody was in a bad mood, a football player was in a bad mood and grumpy, and it was Betty White. And so they stopped the game, and one of his friends gave Betty White a Snickers bar and say, have a Snickers, you're just not yourself when you are hungry. So what is the underlying message in that? Next time when a kid is feeling hangry, they are going to go for a Snickers bar and not a carrot,
right,
or not a healthy meal. So it's all manipulation. And that's one of the biggest reasons that I would not watch live TV. And if I do, if there's something that interests me, I would record it so I can skip through the commercials. But yeah, we are mesmerized. We are not present. And being present, I think, is one of the biggest things that I've learned from meditation.
Yeah,
Being present.
that's right. That's, you know,
Well,
seriously, when I work with people, I always teach them grounding. And like Carla says, hug a tree, touch nature, you know, it brings you back in your body and your heart. And then you're grounded, and then you're present. You're right here, right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, and there's so much with that mesmerizing, like the advertisement you were talking about. I think it was Edward Bernays who was hired by some of the big companies to cigarette companies to get women to
Right.
smoke, to
Mhm.
buy in, to make their companies bigger, to bring more money. And that was the entire thing by TV commercials and stuff that Edward Bernays had developed, getting women to smoke. And that was all part of breaking apart the family ties, and into, like, I know a lot of times today in schools, I felt it some when I was in school, or I should say, looking back, I can see that I was programmed that way too, but it's so much more in the current generations where women are trained to not respect, or to think of men as belittle them or not believe them, or things. And I think that's of course the men earlier were programmed probably to think the same way of women at that time, in earlier years. But neither are right. We're all good, and we need each other, and we're all equals. And it's using your mind and stopping to
Right.
think and say,
Mhm.
what is it that
Well, you guys
what
in
is
the
it that they're
US,
saying, and do you want that?
Yeah.
you guys in the US
Go
right
ahead.
now is in just before your elections, and I'm an outsider. Even though in Canada we do get a lot of influence from US and politics and policies and things like that, it does spill over to us. But I'm watching things. I get my news headlines on my phone. So normally it would say national headlines for today or local headlines for today. And normally I just delete. But when there's something really massive happening, I would get there was an assassination attempt on somebody. Now, I don't have an opinion on who I will vote for or who I don't have will vote for, but I am driven by love. And one thing that has really I've been gobsmacked by it is some of the responses on an event like that, on both sides of the spectrum. And all I want to know is where's love? You don't have to love a certain person. You don't have to follow them. You don't have to vote for them. But as a human being, you also don't need to wish them dead.
Right.
And I've been absolutely shocked by some of the comments I've heard from friends and I've seen on Facebook. And your right to vote, isn't that a big enough statement to make that you don't have to lower yourself to that level? It's like Dr. Joe Dispenza says, it's like drinking poison and hoping the other person will die.
Yeah.
Well, it is, and it goes back to the mesmeration, I think, from
Right. Exactly.
watching too
Media
much
is
of the
quite involved in
TV.
that.
Hmm.
It's very media, and they're very, very biased.
Mhm.
I mean, it's been proven. I mean, it's just a matter of, if people can open their eyes and open their mind, right, to pull away from that mesmeration, and say, okay, well, what's really happening, and what do I really want, and what can I believe of what either party's saying, in other to find in other ways to back up what you what they're saying beside just the TV that you're watching, and take time to really think, and is that what I want, or that reactive mesmerizing pattern? Yeah, it's very much of a problem. I'm getting agitated right now just talking about it,
Yes,
because
yes.
it's bothers it
Well, I
really
think, Carla, we can all
bothers.
be the solution, though. We can all become more love.
Yeah.
Because if we all remember who we really are, Rainy said that earlier, we all come from love. And if we are all just turning back to love, and with you guys, the work you do, the podcast you do, is spreading that message of love. Open up people's hearts. Let them become more present. We can change the world. That's why I love Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. And if you go on his website, in October, he's doing Walk for the World again. It's a free meditation download, and it's people all over the world doing a meditation together on the same day at the same time. Last time they did that in September of 2023, the Schumann resolutions completely changed on the earth during that time. It completely calmed down. That's what we can do. We can make people aware that let's return to love together. Let's have 1 hour a year where we all just become love and see.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, very good. That's a wonderful place stop um, to stop here. I'm just going to put for watchers to please like and subscribe to help us grow on media. And Marina, is there any that's a wonderful closing thought. If you want to expand on that, that's you're very welcome to. And then follow that with again, your offerings, and how people can get hold of you.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Rainy. Just look in your own heart. My mom told me a story years ago. I was bullied at school, and my mom passed away this year, but this is one of her lessons that I will never forget. And I came home and I said to her, I hate this person who was bullying me. And she said, listen, there's a little statue, and I want you to take all that hatred and start to hate the statue as much as you can. And I did. I pretended that that statue was that girl who was bullying me. And she said, okay, did the statue change? I said, no. She said, now look in your heart. And it was like, oh my gosh. The what happened in my heart was not something I liked. So hating anybody else, feeling ill towards anybody else is doing nothing to them, but it's doing something to you. So go back to love. Go back to the love you are. And when you start to function from there and you look through those eyes, everybody you look at will change. You can get hold of me. If you see my name, Marina Theron-Monnery, that's my website, marinatheronmonnery.com. Social media, I'm on Instagram and on YouTube, and on Facebook, LinkedIn. So I welcome anybody. Thank you for having me,
Great.
ladies.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a great conversation for sure. And hopefully it'll have us feeling good throughout the day, as well as anyone who listens. Yeah. So thank you all for listening.